Tesha's going to talk to us about her new book, which is uncommonly good. I'm sure some of you have seen it, and I think some of you have already bought it. She's currently at the community campus, and I've seen lots of photos. I love the pictures that you were posting on how that was all coming together upstairs of the rainbow. So that was nice too. So I won't go into too much here. I'll let you tell us about what's going on there and about your book. And the floor is yours.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. It's so nice to be back in a Rotary meeting, even though it's in my home. What a strange year. So this book, Uncommonly Good, we've been working on for a really long time. People have been saying to me, how did you open this learning center and write this book? And I was like, oh man, this book was written, way before this. But it came out of the fact that everybody would sit down to eat, and then they would rush into the kitchen and say, oh my gosh, this reminds me so much of my mom's dish, but it's slightly different. And then they start talking about their lives, and it just felt really magical. And then at the end of every weekend, folks started asking for recipes, and we finally got proficient enough at writing them down that we created a collection ultimately. And some of these recipes in this book is from my grandmother on my mother's side, who was really good at cookies and pies, my grandmother on my father's side, which was really good at baking breads and cinnamon rolls. From my parents, there's a meatball recipe in there that's an adaptation of a meatball recipe that I ate every single year for every single, church basement. We have to bring a dish kind of thing. So it really evolved out of that. And then we wanted it to revolve around the story of creating this place. I'm not a great researcher, as in like, I really don't research much at all. So when I open Good Commons, people are like, oh, I bet you went to all these retreat centers and did all this research. And I was like, no, I just bought the house and, tore it down and built it up again and did it. And I did all the things that would make Barb Lemire, cringe, like borrowed $100,000 off of credit cards because it was 2006 and I could do that. And, and that's how I renovated it. And well, I did that several times actually, because it's a big building. So yeah, my business coach, hearing the story, in retrospect, she was like, I'm glad I know you now because you would have terrified me and I would have advised against everything that you did. But I gambled on myself and the magic of the universe and made it happen in terms of getting the building up. But so some of those stories are in there. And my friendship with Matthew goes back to 1996. I hadn't even graduated college when I started working with him as a fellow actor. And then when he moved to New York City, he had a stronger culinary, adventure than I did. So that's when he worked with Bobby Flay. And that's how, not only that, but then he became a food and travel writer after his time at being a chef at Good Commons. And that's what also just kind of took the book to a new place. He had all the connections for the copy editing, and then being in contact with Bobby Flay's, his team, all the people that reviews those kinds of things. So that's kind of how it all came together. And we decided to self-publish on Amazon. I know that's not amazing from different people's feelings about Amazon, but it was definitely the most accessible route for myself and him, who probably aren't going to write a bunch of books in the future. And so to pave the way through like a brand new career didn't seem to sort of make sense for us in that aspect. And then plus, if we forgot something or didn't thank somebody, we can just go in and edit it. And that's, anybody who purchases it from here on out won't have the mistake. So that's the gist of the book. It is in different stories. Some of you may remember when I used to own the Good Bus. So, some of the stories about breaking down all the time before we bought better buses are in there. And there's actually a whole chapter called The Wheels Go Round and Round. And those are stories or recipes based off of things that we used to pack the bus with in transit, or if we went to a picnic at a local farm. And also our journey with how to connect with local farmers, which was at first way more challenging than it is now. Like, I guess once you create your relationships, that's easier. But also Black River Produce, you know, fellow Rotarian, most certainly helped the whole local meat search. Now you don't have to literally buy a cow and figure out how to use every single part of it, or the pig. So that was really life altering for chefs out there. I mean, Kevin, you probably know that from your days with the knife.
Go. I was just taking off. So yes, we used the Good Bus before. I think we had a group that went somewhere before with your Good Bus, and I ran into some of the same challenges when I first started, because way back, which now we're talking 30 years ago at the Echo Lake Inn, I had to have my bartender do a farm for me to get some of my local things, so that I wasn't getting only zucchinis at one time of the year and trying to use up just zucchinis, just, you know, so you had to plan the garden out. So I was able to do it that way.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I work with a few different farmers. I make 5 different farm stops every single weekend, basically. So, you know, sometimes people come and they're like, so what do you do midweek? Do you just like hang out? I'm like, you know, all this food doesn't just magically appear in the kitchen. And the books don't magically happen. And the menu planning doesn't just fall out of the sky with 8,000 dietary restrictions. That's always the hardest.
That is a challenge. I remember the dietary restrictions on groups that we've had come in.
Almost every single weekend is pretty much gluten-free, dairy-free. It's just easiest. I mean, well, not easiest, but I mean, like, that's just basically what it is. So I just plan on that. And then when it's not that, I jump up and down. In terms of my other life, the community campus, I mean, Good Commons, although it's this amazing place, has really not been open at all since the pandemic hit. We've had 2 retreats that decided to have everybody get rapid tests on Wednesday and show up on Thursday. And that's been amazing. That was, I mean, I was sort of nervous. I thought, gosh, after all these months, did I forget how to cook? But now I'm like, okay, that's like riding a bike. This is good. And it was also really amazing that one of them was pretty much a group of therapists. And those folks are tired. You know, all they do every day is listen to how this virus has stressed people out. So it really was very heartwarming to see that, to see them revitalized throughout the course of a weekend. But since Good Commons is closed, my daughter did not react well to the pandemic. You know, she's extremely social. I have no idea where she gets that. So she really struggled. She does not want me to teach her anything. Like, I can barely read her books at night before going to sleep. She's that, I think, traumatized by me trying to give her the education that school provides. And so the Learning Center is open 8 to 3, Monday through Friday. And then folks come to us when they're, of course, not at school. And then we run a 3 to 5 program as well. And some kids really actually are thriving more with us than with school. So now we're starting to collaborate about why that is. And our environment's very different and very homey. And, you know, most kids are doing at their own little table, or they're on a beanbag, or they're on a rug here and there. So some kids are functioning really much better with that. We also have them outside a lot. We're right next to the national park, and the 6th graders are maybe not so interested in being outside all the time, but those 3rd and 4th graders, we have to say, like, no, you really do have to come in. You've been outside for 2.5 hours. So that's been really, it's been really rewarding. And obviously my daughter goes there on Wednesdays when everybody's out of school, and then after school, and it's been pretty magical and nice to keep myself busy so that I just don't sit and stew on the rest of my life.
Tesha.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Sorry. Where is this? And tell me more. I mean, where are you doing this? I don't know anything about it.
So I helped Rainbow Play School, which was my daughter's preschool and play school, transition to the building at the base of Mount Tom, which used to be the Mount Tom Ski Lodge, and then became the Mount Tom School in the 90s for about a decade. And then it became an office building, and then artistry started there. And then in 2016, the building kind of just went dormant. And when I went to look at it, there were 2 cats living in it. And I was like, okay. So we had money in our school, and I thought, well, you have to invest this in real estate or the market, and real estate's a better buy. So let's do that. And it's a huge building. So there's a small apartment in the front, which was the 1840s house. And then there's 7,000 square feet of commercial space. Rainbow Play School's on the first floor. So we doubled their programming. They were ages 18 months to 5 years. And we increased that to infants, and then doubled like the 18-month age, doubled the 2-year-old age, and preschool stayed the same. And then upstairs is where the community campus is going. Rainbow can't expand upstairs because in early childhood care, you have to be on the first floor. So we were a really nice mix then. So now we're education in the whole building. And we're trying to figure out what to do post-COVID. We've been working with Vermont After School and this hub program. Some of the hubs have already closed already. And some places, I guess, have gone back to school, or they couldn't make their hub happen. We opened with 18 kids. And we were a little nervous because that is not a lot of kids, but we now have 53. So wow. That is not every one of them come every day, of course. So we don't max out. We can't have any more than 45 in any one day, but on Wednesdays we're at 43. So I have no idea what I'm doing in education exactly. I mean, people come to me and they're like, what? I'm like, that's not my policy thing. You want to talk about a profit and loss? I can handle that. So, but we have an education director that ran the after school program. And she also still works for the school. She's the liaison with all these remote families trying to figure out what to do. But it is fascinating talking to families, trying to figure out, how does this alter education forever? I mean, it might. Seeing some kids thrive here, but we're not for sure. The district definitely wants us to continue our after school program, our 3 to 5, and they want us to potentially be a tutoring location in the future. And then they have an options program, but only for older kids, and they'd like a younger location. And an options program is, so sometimes a kid experiences, a parental separation, a death in the family, some sort of trauma that makes the regular school day and environment not productive for them. So they can go to another place for 3 or 4 months and then get grounded again, and then they can re-enter the school system. So we don't know exactly what we're going to end up being, but the space is really beautiful and the setup is already there. So it would be a shame for it not to be used by the school system in some way.
So is this a combination of public and private funding?
We are a childcare facility, so that's our license, is an after-school program, even though we're running during school hours because we're after school. So we don't provide curriculum. So the curriculum is definitely still the district's curriculum, but we are a private entity, just like a Rainbow Play School or the little school or whatever.
What school district is that?
Windsor Central Supervisory Union. Yeah. So Izzy would be going there anyway, being in Plymouth, but now I live here, but I guess she would have. Or in Plymouth, can you tuition?
Plymouth is choice, I believe. Tom lives in Plymouth.
Yes.
Let Tom chime in.
And you guys have a private school now, isn't
I really can't comment too much. I'm a little bit out of the education loop in Plymouth. It's been quite a few years since school. And since they closed the school, there's been a lack of interest. I mean, we don't do anything in Plymouth.
No. No, we don't do too much in Plymouth.
No.
Well, except for my hooligans at Good Commons when they're there.
Well, I mean, there's some things about closing the school that benefited certain people, but there's no doubt that closing it killed the town.
Yeah.
I mean, it just did. It's just, it's half Ludlow and half Killington now.
Oh,
Would agree. Unless our store reopens, who in Rotary is going to buy the Plymouth Country store?
I don't think it's for sale, is it?
It is. I had a buyer for the whole place, but they backed out.
No.
How much do they want for it?
The store is separate. The resort itself is 7.2, I think, and that comes with a campground.
Yeah.
what's
I
the
can't remember what the
resort?
store was.
Like
Round
200
top.
and something, 275 is what I thought I had heard, but I
Mhm.
can't confirm that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money considering what Good Commons is worth, and that building hasn't been touched since, a hurricane hit it.
I'm going to tell you a funny story about that store. A guy named Lee used to own that store, and he was on the fire department. And he came in one Wednesday night just fuming it was I guess early fall. No, maybe it was late spring. And Lee, what's the matter? He goes, I had one guy come in all day. I said, wow, that's not much. He said, and it was a guy on a bicycle. And he walked in and handed me 2 nickels and said, could you give me a dime, please, so I can reduce the weight on my bicycle? I don't see the revenue potential of that store, quite frankly.
No, I think Good Commons would get a lot of revenue because we used to go by, our folks would go buy cases of wine there, but I don't think they could keep it afloat.
That's only weekends.
Right? No. Holy cow, that's a tragic number. John and Lynn, who used to run it, used to say that
Yeah.
Yerkowitz would ask them to run it at a loss so he had a write-off on his tax return.
Did they have a problem doing that?
No, they had a problem when they had to take it over and pay rent, and they were like, we don't know how to turn a profit.
Yeah, I used to be able to go there by snowmobile, get lunch.
I know. I love
Yeah.
their breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah, it was nice.
Well, the snowmobile season was so bad last year. I mean, I think
Yeah.
there was one weekend, right? Kim?
I only did I think 300 miles. That was it last year.
Wow. That was in one weekend.
Well, it was spread over about a week or two, maybe.
Oh my gosh. So how's the club? You guys have been Zooming this whole time?
We have
Good for you.
every Tuesday, non-holiday anyways. We did do our duck race, which was a resounding success. So that was out in the public.
Excellent.
And we're trying to figure out we're going to, after this portion of the meeting, we're going to discuss our holiday party, which will be via Zoom with some ugly sweaters maybe, and some to-goes from DJs. So we'll see how that goes together.
Got ideas for us, Tesha?
Right? Oh, man.
Come on, you were good at this. You and Tom. We expect you
Right?
to plan the Christmas party, right?
Oh, man. I know. And all the little songs we used to write. And
Mhm.
You could do some fun ones this year.
right?
Tess, you're invited to our Christmas party. I believe tentatively we're scheduling it for June 29th at the lake.
I will be there if it is on June 29th at the lake.
Good.
Martini in hand.
Vaccinated, and who cares again?
Oh my gosh. From your mouth to God's ears there.
Mm.
So
Lord.
Tesha, tell us a little bit about Izzy. She's what, 5?
She is 6,
Oh,
6?
wow.
Oh my gosh.
going on 16. I can do it myself. I'm like, yes, I know you can do it yourself. If I could make a small suggestion, no, that's Isabella, which will serve her at some point in her life.
But not right now. If she lives to adulthood, I used to say.
That's right. I am trying to get her into gymnastics and dance classes because she has an innate talent for it. She's really good. Even the guy that runs the after school program is like, everyone's like, Mr. Sean, watch us do this cartwheel. And he's like, oh yeah, that was really good. But he's like, Izzy really is very good. And I was like, I know, but she's been refusing to go. I don't know what her thing is, but they have a class at artistry. She's a big artist. She's actually a really good painter, and she loves clay, and she just she's insatiable. Like, she needs to have some art project or class to do almost all the time. And then you pick her up at 5:30 and she's like, are we going swimming? Are we going shopping? Can we go out to eat? I'm like, oh my gosh, it is 5:15 to go home.
Oh, that's great. It's amazing. 5 or 6 years has gone by. Paul, you're a new Rotarian, but Tesha had a baby. I mean, she's the first one in a long, long time. A lot of us were pregnant a long time ago. And so we had a baby shower for her at Rotary. So it was
Very
quite
exciting.
fun. Quite fun.
Look forward to June 29th when we can all get together.
Totally.
I have to mute, the dogs are barking.
No. And how's Ludlow in general, and how's the vibe there these days? You guys good?
Well, it seems to be good. I mean, we're still inundated with out-of-staters, and you wonder if they have quarantined properly, but it's the livelihood of the town. So I guess the mountain's doing well. So we're all quite busy.
Okay. Well,
Real estate's hot.
Yeah.
Real
Yes,
estate.
it is.
it is. That
Yeah.
is for sure. Yeah. Well, we did want at one point more out-of-staters into our, economic development. I don't know where that $10,000 per person was to move here, but I guess they pulled that in time.
Yeah.
When you think about that was what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
And now it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
There
I
are,
know a third of our enrollment is out of state at TCC, and half of our board comes from out of state. But I have to say that's a welcomed blessing. One of them is our treasurer, and one of them is our secretary. And wow, they're ambitious, and it's exciting.
I'm hoping that turns our state around, quite frankly. I
yeah.
was just speaking to a client of mine who had children a little older than me, and he moved up here in the late 80s to have his children in a safe place. And we essentially did the same thing in 1992. And there was a wave of people that caused a small surge in population in the state. And then gradually that ebbed and went the other way. And Governor Scott said it, 631, his little mantra, the number of workers leaving. I bet you that number's been reversed this year. And I'm hoping that shows up in the form of income taxes to help our budget.
I do too. We're going to need it. Yeah. I mean, for years, people come to Good Commons and they definitely love it, but they're always stuck by, what am I supposed to do here? And now that I guess folks can Zoom in, I don't know where, I guess since they live here, their tax dollars come here, right?
Yeah.
So.
That's actually going to be a point of contention around year end, because
Yeah.
different states have different policies, and some states are going to win and some states are going to lose. It's notable that Chuck Schumer hasn't said anything about it, because I don't think there's any question that New York State is going to would lose revenue if they had to allocate the days you work to wherever you were.
Right.
And we would definitely benefit.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, this will be fascinating. But there are definitely people who moved here, lost and don't have work, and are trying to find it here. And they've been like, wow, if I made $15 an hour, or if I wanted to make that, I would have lots of jobs, but I cannot afford to have my family here for that. And I see that a lot.
Well, the other thing that we were talking about is people come here to have their kids safe and that kind of stuff, but they quickly realize it's very difficult to fly out of an airport anywhere. And, you know, the things, they have to plan their shopping in advance because you can't just pop down to the store if your Plymouth store is closed. So the difficulties of living here that they're used to, we don't consider them difficulties, but they're used to things that they're not going to get here. And so they may, after a couple of years, decide to leave again. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to swing back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But good to see that people are still buying in Ludlow. Almost everything is bought up, it seems, here in Woodstock. You get to the end of page 1 of Zillow and it's land. You're like, wow.
Well, and land is so expensive. There's, I think it's 40 acres for sale here in Mount Holly for $245,000.
They can list it for whatever they want to, I guess.
I guess.
But then good luck finding a builder. Right?
Yeah,
The builders are like 2 years booked. And
Yeah.
I know some that are saying, sorry, I can't help you, you know, so.
Right.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah, and repair guys, I mean, that's all the kind of stuff that they're gonna get annoyed at eventually and say they're going back to the cities. Well, the
Right.
suburbs, not the cities.
Well, how many folks in the construction industry did we lose during the whole, financial crisis? Do we lose?
It's not so much what we lost is that we weren't replenished. So the average age is somewhere in the 50s for most of the tradesmen. So it's, I think somewhere around 56, 58 is the average age for tradesmen in the industry. So they're not going into the trades.
We need to prime these high school kids for the
I know.
trade.
Well, they were all told to go to college. Don't go to trade schools, go to college. And then they all went to college and now they can't pay their loans. Unfortunately, not all of them, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So that was a problem.
Yep.
Well, does anyone have any other questions for Tesha?
Tish, your family's well, your mom and dad?
Yeah, they are. They're trying to sell their business, at 76. They would like to retire at some point. But that's been kind of hard for them. My aunt moved in with them so they could all grow old together and take care of one another. So I thought that was a outside the box, but really good thing.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out how to come out here. I think they're going to come and quarantine here. And then stay. I haven't seen, my mom was actually here. She arrived 2 days before lockdown. And I have to say that I'm very grateful that my mother was here for me during that time, and definitely noted how special it is considering their age, that I don't have that much longer with them, I'm sure, in some ways. So that was super special. Thank
Nice.
you.
Very nice.
Nice. Great to see you again.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tesha,
Yes, you.
everyone.
Come back.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, we'll tap on you again, maybe.
All right.
Come back.
Excellent.
You have an open invitation to our Christmas party, our holiday party in June. So we had a great time last year. We did that during COVID. So, and it worked out very well.
That's great.
Yeah, we were all socially distanced and we had a great time.
Great.
Yeah, Tom was our host for us on the lake.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
Yay. All right, you guys.
All right.
Well, thank you so
Thanks
much
again.
for having me.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.